for Rookie of the Year.
Stupid decision because it compromises what your ultimate goal is.
The WNBA legend scheming against Caitlin Clark in the Rookie of the Year race. Caitlin Clark's potential entry into the WNBA has generated excitement due to her exceptional collegiate career. But as of now, no credible sources have surfaced claiming any veteran player engaged in bribery or similar acts to influence the voting. Rumors and sensational claims can spread easily, especially online. If you're interested in verifying such news, it's best to rely on credible sports journalism sources. Let me know if you'd like me to look up the latest news or clarify further.
So we've got somebody out there who is casting votes for Angel Reese. I say somebody. I mean, I suppose it could have been one person who voted for Angel Reese for Rookie of the Year and another person who voted for Angel for MVP.
Like you're referencing a dramatic scenario involving a rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, with speculation about a WNBA legend being involved in voting manipulation. However, there is no factual evidence or trustworthy reporting to back up such claims, and it seems like this is more of a fictional or exaggerated narrative. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are two outstanding college basketball stars, and while they've had some on-court rivalries, most notably during the 2023 NCAA tournament, no credible sources suggest that any WNBA legends have been involved in undermining Clark or promoting Reese for awards. If you are hearing these rumors from certain sources, it might be more narrative-driven rather than factual. Let me know if you'd like help tracking the latest real-world news about Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese.
That somebody is trolling Angel Reese because these are sports people, supposedly. These are members of the media. These are people who write about sports, who broadcast about sports, who...
It sounds like you're diving into the details surrounding Caitlin Clark's potential WNBA Rookie of the Year situation and how, despite her incredible stats, she didn't receive a unanimous vote. While this narrative adds drama, there hasn't been any confirmed instance where Caitlin Clark was involved in an actual WNBA Rookie of the Year race yet. As of now, she remains a standout college basketball player for Goa. When she eventually joins the WNBA, it's highly likely she will dominate given her extraordinary stats and all-around skill. Her college career averages as of the 2023 season were indeed impressive, with a reputation for high scoring, distributing assists, and grabbing rebounds at a guard position. But it's important to clarify that any voting controversies or claims about her not receiving unanimous accolades in a Rookie of the Year race haven't occurred yet, since she hasn't entered the WNBA. If you're referring to future projections, it's possible that intense competition, like from Angel Reese, could influence how awards are distributed. Reese has also made headlines for her own remarkable achievements. These athletes have built their legacies through their performances, and competition will only elevate the excitement around their careers. Let me know if you want more details.
We were making the point, do you want to promote the league or not? And people like Andrea and others were resistant to that playing a role in somebody making the roster.
This is a highly dramatic narrative that reads more like a fictional or speculative scenario than a real event, especially given that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are still playing the college level and haven't entered the WNBA as of 2024. There is no verified news or record of Clark losing out on a unanimous Rookie of the Year vote or Angel Wilson being involved in any sort of behind-the-scenes scheming related to Clark or Reese. Angel Wilson has indeed been a dominant force in the WNBA, winning multiple MVP awards, and it would make sense that she could achieve a unanimous MVP win in the future based on her outstanding performances. However, the claim that she would be involved in sabotaging Clark's Rookie of the Year voting sounds speculative and unsubstantiated. If this type of rivalry narrative is based on a rumor or a fictional take, it's not something that aligns with the current factual records in the WNBA or the careers of these players. The excitement around players like Clark, Reese, and Wilson comes from their exceptional on-court performances and their growing influence on the sport. Let me know if you'd like the real stats or updates on these athletes.
Actually argue that it hurts the game more if they had given her a roster spot over someone more deserving.
This narrative you're sharing paints a vivid and dramatic rivalry between Caitlin Clark and Angel Wilson, but it's important to clarify that none of this has been reported as factual. There's no credible evidence or verified news of Angel Wilson being involved in any orchestrated plot to block Caitlin Clark's potential unanimous Rookie of the Year (ROTY) win. As of now, Caitlin Clark hasn't entered the WNBA, and there has been no ROTY voting controversy involving her. Angel Wilson has indeed been a dominant force in the WNBA, winning multiple MVP awards, and she may become the first unanimous MVP winner in modern WNBA history. But the idea of her sabotaging Clark's future success is pure speculation or fiction. Sports rivalries often create great narratives, especially when players of such high caliber are involved. However, athletes like Wilson and Clark have so far built their careers through hard work, record-breaking performances, and a commitment to the game. Any rumors or unverified stories of behind-the-scenes manipulation seem far-fetched and are not part of the real-world storylines in professional women's basketball. If you'd like real-time updates or insights into Clark, Reese, or Wilson's
unanimous MVP.
You know, the WNBA continues to kill the golden goose. Now, I must clarify something. A lot of you are hitting me up with, why hasn't the WNBA talked about their Rookie of the Year award since Caitlin Clark, it's been released, is the Rookie of the Year? Well, they haven't announced any award.
The scenario you're describing continues to paint a highly dramatic and fictional picture of a rivalry between Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Angel Wilson. In this story, Wilson allegedly orchestrates a plan to ensure Clark doesn't receive a unanimous Rookie of the Year, ROTUI, vote by influencing a journalist to vote for Angel Reese, even though Reese's stats don't measure up to ROTUI standards. While this makes for an intriguing and intense narrative, *** is not based on any real events ***. None of the claims you mention, like Wilson manipulating voting outcomes, Angel Reese being involved as a distraction, or any backlash against a journalist named Cameron Duncan, have been reported or verified in reality. Here's what you know. Caitlin Clark is still playing college basketball for Iowa and hasn't yet entered the WNBA. Her potential future in the WNBA is highly anticipated due to her record-breaking performances. A standout for LSU has also not entered the WNBA and is still building her college career. She gained significant attention after leading LSU to the 2023 NCAA championship. Angel Wilson is a dominant WNBA player, having won multiple MVP awards and championships, but there's no indication of her involvement in any manipulation of voting processes. The idea of these players being involved in such intense behind-the-scenes drama is likely speculative or based on rumors, but has no grounding in real-world events. The WNBA, like other professional sports leagues, has checks and balances in place to ensure the integrity of awards and voting processes. While fan theories and dramatic interpretations can be entertaining, they often veer far from the truth. If you're interested in more realistic updates about Clark's path to the WNBA, Wilson's continued dominance, or Reese's rise in college basketball, I'd be happy to help. Let me know. 755
said, why don't you like Angel Reese? Why don't you like the black people? You black. Why don't, they've made it a race thing. They've made it you can't stand her thing. They've made it all this stuff. And I'm making it a basketball thing. As a former player, as a former coach, as a person who just got eyes to see, Angel Reese was not going to be Rookie of the Year. There really wasn't a contest.
The narrative you're sharing captures a deep frustration regarding perceived injustices in the voting and recognition processes within the WNBA, particularly involving Caitlin Clark, Angel Wilson, and the concept of racial bias. It articulates a sense of disillusionment with the league's handling of controversies and the broader implications for players and fans. Here's a breakdown of some of the key themes and issues raised. The claim of a lack of response from the WNBA to controversies surrounding awards or player recognition is a serious point. Fans often expect transparency and accountability, especially in cases where integrity and fairness are questioned. If the league does not address perceived injustices, it can damage its credibility and alienate fans. The idea that a single vote, or the absence of recognition, can have wider repercussions for a player's career and the perception of the league is poignant. The conversation around rookie recognition, especially when it involves players with standout statistics, highlights how awards shape narratives in sports. The assertion that racism plays a role in how players are recognized and celebrated is a critical aspect of this discussion. Race and representation remain pressing issues in sports, and discussions about who gets highlighted and who is overlooked often reflect larger societal biases. The complexity of Angel Wilson's position, balancing her achievements as a top player while possibly being implicated in a narrative of manipulation, brings to light the competitive nature of professional sports. It raises questions about how personal rivalries can intersect with systemic issues of race and representation. The narrative suggests that Clark's achievements are being undermined by external factors, which can be disheartening for both the player and her supporters. If a player's accomplishments are questioned or diminished due to behind-the-scenes politics, it can affect their legacy and the way they are viewed in the league. The discussion touches on the need for the WNBA and other sports leagues to confront these complex issues openly and honestly, acknowledging systemic biases, ensuring fair recognition for all players, and actively working to combat racism and inequality are crucial steps in maintaining the integrity of the sport. While the themes in your narrative reflect valid frustrations, it's essential to ground such discussions in verified events and concrete examples to foster meaningful dialogue. If you want to explore these themes further, or if you have specific questions about race and recognition in sports, feel free to ask.
The WNBA has no idea what it's doing with Caitlin Clark. Can we all agree on that? They have no idea. It's a hostile league to Caitlin Clark.
The narrative you're expressing underscores a critical examination of how race and recognition intersect in sports, particularly within the context of the WNBA. Here's a deeper look at some of the key points you're raising. The idea that a single vote and prestigious award like Rookie of the Year could reflect deeper systemic issues related to race is significant. It suggests that beyond individual decisions, there are broader societal patterns that influence how players are perceived and celebrated in professional sports. Clark's impressive statistics, averaging 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game, clearly position her as a standout player deserving of recognition. Her accomplishments set a high standard for what constitutes excellence in a rookie season. The contrast between her performance and the decision to vote for another player raises questions about the criteria and biases that might inform such decisions. When a vote is seen as a departure from what seems statistically and logically sound, it can provoke discussions about representation and the factors that contribute to recognition in the league. These conversations are essential for addressing potential biases and ensuring that all players are evaluated fairly based on their performance, rather than other extraneous factors. Fans play a crucial role in holding leagues accountable. The outrage over perceived injustices can lead to broader discussions about how the league functions and what it means for the players involved. Fans' voices can push leagues like the WNBA to examine their practices and strive for more transparency and fairness. By bringing these issues to light, there's an opportunity for dialogue around race, performance, and recognition in sports. Acknowledging and addressing these issues is essential for fostering an environment where all players can thrive and receive the acknowledgement they deserve. Your narrative reflects a growing awareness of how race and recognition operate within professional sports. While it's important to address these issues, ensuring that discussions are based on verified events and concrete examples can help drive meaningful change and foster understanding. If you'd like to explore these topics further, such as examining the historical context of racial representation in sports or discussing specific instances of bias, I'd be happy to dive deeper with you.
Angry racist before Caitlin Clark even got in, and I thought this was interesting yesterday. Sue Bird addressed that and her racist tweets prior to Caitlin Clark even being in the WNBA. In fact, racist tweets prior to Caitlin Clark being Caitlin Clark, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
your narrative highlights a complex intersection of sports, race, and power dynamics, particularly in the context of the WNBA and the treatment of players like Caitlin Clark and Angel Wilson. Here are some key takeaways from your points. The notion that journalist Cameron Duncan's vote for Angel Reese was influenced by larger narratives speaks to how individual decisions can reflect systemic biases. It raises the question of whether journalists can act independently or if they are swayed by prevailing sentiments or pressures within the league. Angel Wilson's historical comments about the favoritism shown towards certain players hint at an ongoing conversation about race and representation in sports. Her remarks suggest a recognition of a pattern that may marginalize players based on race, which can influence how they are perceived and celebrated. Your analysis underscores how visibility plays a crucial role in who gets recognized in sports. The emphasis on style, flair, and assistive play, as exemplified by players like Caitlin Clark, illustrates how certain narratives can overshadow performance-based evaluations. The idea that Clark's unanimous Rookie of the Year win was undermined by a larger system reflects a significant concern about equity in sports. When players feel that their achievements can be invalidated or diminished due to external factors, it raises questions about the integrity of award systems and their impact on player legacies. You highlight the necessity for accountability within the WNBA and a recognition of how power dynamics influence the narrative around players. Until systemic issues are addressed, the league risks perpetuating biases that can harm the careers of talented athletes. This